Greetings, Diski fam. Welcome to another installment of the Sisonke Diski Chat. My name is Len Muleko, and we're back again talking everything there is to talk about with regards to Mzansi football and the biggest teams in the country. And of course, I'm talking about Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. And as usual, we are joined by legends on the show. And today is no different because such a gentleman will be joining us. Before we get into today's show, I've got some exciting news, especially for you Buccaneer fans, because the Orlando Pirates insurance is here. I'm talking about the Orlando Pirates funeral cover, and you can cover yourself and your family from as little as 60 Rand a month. Why? Because family takes care of family. If you want to sign up to the Orlando Pirates funeral cover, head over to the Orlando Pirates official app, and that's where you can get yourself covered. Now, let's get into today's show. I said we've got legends. They are here. These two gentlemen love to talk, so that's why I brought them here. Always have
he loves to talk.
Always have very exciting opinions with regards to the beautiful game. Closest to me, Josta Dladla, former Kaizer Chiefs midfielder. Welcome to the show once again.
Thanks for having me, man.
And Phumudzo Manenzhe, former Orlando Pirates deadly striker. Can I call you deadly striker?
Anything, man. Once and always.
Once and always, for sure. Gentlemen, like I said, welcome to the show. We're going to get straight into it. On a number of occasions, we've spoken about the impact of not having fans at the stadium. Finally, we received the good news that all the football-loving South Africans can head on to the stadium and watch their favorite teams, obviously at 50% capacity. When you heard that announcement being made, I'm going to start with you, Phumudzo. Do you think it was a little too late or just at the right time?
I wouldn't use too late for me, because they had to be careful, and remember, it was not only the PSL's decision alone. They had to consult with the government because we were still under lockdown. And I think it comes at a good time because it's towards the last 6 games of the season, and most of the teams will need their 12th player, which is the supporters, to go and push them. On different notes, you're looking at a Baroka team that needs the supporters to be able to get out of that relegation zone. A TS Galaxy, a Swallows, they need the supporters to be able to retain their status.
Pirates doing some games.
Also, like kuna laba abanye bawine court, yazi abamele bawine ama game, they will need the supporters. So I think it's very important, but I see a problem for some of the Pirates players, some of the Kaizer Chiefs players that have been at Pirates for maybe 2 years, yet to play in front of the crowd. A Pepra, for example, he needs to play in front of the crowd now. Evandile Shandu, who's doing very well for Orlando Pirates, 7 goals in all competition. It won't be difficult for him because he has already gotten a very good start. So the new players might struggle with the large crowds that will come, and especially Chiefs and Orlando Pirates supporters, they are very vocal.
Yeah, and on that point, you mentioned the Pepras of this world. I mean, from a Chiefs perspective, you've got some of the youngsters that were promoted to the first team. They're also going to be suddenly walking into a FNB stadium or a Moses Mabhida, and suddenly vuvuzelas are loud, fans are whistling.
90,000 fans.
Yeah. Do you think, what role is a coach sort of like supposed to be playing now on some young men? Like, I know you've been doing well, but now this is a different ballgame.
I mean, you don't need to really tell the player once they go out for a warm-up. You see almost full stadium, that's a warm-up. And then you don't need to actually encourage anybody to say go out there and do your best. Your instincts are going to tell you to be I need to go out there, because when the fans are out there, there's no mercy there. If you don't do well, they can always come out that could be your last game, and they get irritated easily. As it is, you're not happy with a lot of things. Just to add up on what Phumudzo was talking about, I mean, it's been 2.5 years already that we haven't seen the fans. But I mean, you have to look at the business side of it. I found out that the team, it didn't make business sense to the teams, because I mean, the fans were too little.
Yeah.
The money that they were going to make, was going to end up paying the security. So the team was not going to make the money. So obviously the government had to make a choice to kind of bring more fans so that the teams also can make money out of it.
So with the last stretch, you mentioned there's about 5 games remaining. A lot of teams are trying to consolidate where they are. You mentioned those that are in a relegation dogfight. But looking at the top 4, is it adding more pressure? Because, previously, last season before that, you just go to stadium, FNB or Loftus, and you play. The only noise you know you're going to hear is the coach screaming at you from the sidelines. Or your fellow teammates. It's like, hey, pasa. Now that's what you've sort of been accustomed to. Now, pressure of trying to finish in a very respectable position and adding to that the expectations from the fans. That's why I was asking, do you think it was too late, or maybe they could have waited for the end of the season before the fans came back, or it's just business as usual, you just need to switch your mind and be like, okay, cool, this is what's ahead of me, let me just do it?
It's going to be a very difficult stretch, the last couple of games, because you're looking at a Kaizer Chiefs that wants to finish in the Champions League spot. There's the Confederation spot, which is 3rd place, or you have to win the Nedbank Cup to be able to be competing in Africa.
Might even win the league if Sundowns do, which I don't see them looking.
Sundowns
losing games. They're all sitting like this at home. You know what I mean? 7-6 more games. They're all like.
No, that looks like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And looking at the past couple of results, I don't see them slipping up. So for me, my focus is on who's going to be second, and it's very important for the two Soweto Giants to then fill up the other 2 spaces. It's not gonna be easy, because you're looking at a Royal AM that is really pushing hard. You're looking at Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs that are still fighting for those spaces. So you just have to go to the last couple of games. And already it doesn't start easy for Kaizer Chiefs. SuperSport is
Cape Town City as well.
Cape Town City is also fighting.
Yeah.
So the crucial here would be the consistency in the last 5 games. They always say coaches break down the season into 5s.
Yeah.
Now, the last 5 is going to be very important. But for Kaizer Chiefs, they will think that they'll have an advantage over a Orlando Pirates that has to travel in the knockout stages of the Confederations Cup, while they don't have to do a lot of traveling. They did it last season. Kaizer Chiefs went all the way to the final, unlucky not to win it. But the last 5 games is going to be very important. Squad depth is going to be very important.
Which I think that's where you guys are thin. Like the Pirates team, they're really thin when it comes to that. You gotta agree with me on that.
I wouldn't use the word thin, because Amandla Ncikazi is looking at Thembi Nkosi Lodge as a new signing. He has not played the whole season. He has been injured. Now he's coming back. He's fresher. He has to find his feet very quick, because there's only 6 games left. And Ofori, that has been injured for most of the season, is now back. Ben Mutswari, that has not been available, he is obviously back now. So for an Orlando Pirates technical team, you're looking at those 3 players as new players, because you have not had them in a while. Vincent Pule, that you have not seen a lot of this season, is also close to.
What's going on with your striker, this boy? Oh, Mango, come on, dog. You don't even play Mango. What's going on?
We don't even play
Mango.
Luna Walsa
But this is quality.
No, Walsa Castro.
Yeah, Castro. He's injury prone. Last time he played, puts in trainer, hamstring, Lingwele. We understand that. You've got Schota. More active with Atlanta coach. That's wrong. But I'm just saying, you've got a quality player, Antoine, that's sitting up. That did go trainer go AFCON. And he can't even make the first 18. And I'd like to understand, if you have players like that, you need a player like that can come in and impact the game, and you don't have anybody that's scoring those goals for you guys.
On the note of what you're mentioning, it makes good sense, right? But I suppose Phumudzo can then sit and argue that there's competition on 2 fronts. There's the CAF Confederation Cup that as Coach Mikazi and Coach
Fadlu.
Fadlu Davids, you have to manage your squad very nicely because you don't want to find yourself where you get injuries in CAF and now you have to consolidate when you play in the league, also pushing for a top 3 position.
Dude, like, managing the squad, we've played, in our days, we could play like, probably 30 games or like 30 plus games in a season. There's no, this thing of recovery is how you treat yourself, how you eat. Obviously, nutrition is key. The recovery, all these ice baths are out there, The technology is much better now. Saying that, you're going to get injuries. Injuries are players that don't manage their rest well, right? Now, you look at a team like Sundowns. Sundowns, they're doing it really well because they've got a big squad. They're making everybody play, right? Now, you got teams like, both Chiefs, the Pirates. They're not doing that. Players are out there, but they're not actually using them. And making, like, the whole squad of 40 happy takes a skill. And I think this is where Sundowns is beating a lot of teams, and they need to learn from Sundowns what they're doing.
So with the last stretch, who do you think it's advantage to? You alluded to advantage Chiefs because they're only competing on a domestic front. Do you agree, Josta?
Chiefs' consistency this season has been like, really like this, to be honest with you. They play well today, next week they like just average, and then the next game they nowhere. So they might end up like, not even like qualifying for even for the Champions League. You know what I mean? I mean, they've got like, Cape Town City, they've got Pirates underneath them. If they've got 3 games in hand, but it doesn't mean points. We've seen them like doing well today, next week they do bad. I think if they can work on the consistency and like managing the fitness of their players, then it can be possible. I don't know.
When you're looking at the Kaizer Chiefs team, just to add my opinion there, you're looking at a team that has struggled with consistency this season, and you see when Keegan Dolly is not buzzing, Kaizer Chiefs is not buzzing. When a Keegan Dolly is down, you need a Kamabiliad to then lift the team. You need a Ngobo to the youngster to then come into the game and impact the game. What I don't see at Kaizer Chiefs is the sharing of the load. They're not sharing the load well. Sharing the load would mean that if a Nakovic is not playing well, you need somebody to come off the bench to then come and get the goals for you. And at the back, a little bit leaky at times.
How long has it been like that, boy? It's been like that for a while.
They need to correct it. But the other thing that coaches would tell you, Len, is that sometimes when the team is conceding a lot of goals, you don't need only to look at the defense. It starts up front. Do they defend from the front, Kaizer Chiefs? The answer would be no. You don't see them defending from the front. That responsibility is then passed to the 2 defensive midfielders and the 4 men in defense, including the goalkeeper in that. So that is one thing that they need to manage better this season, because you always have to look at the people that are setting the standard, which would be Mamelodi Sundowns in this case. Peter Shalulile is chasing the ball from the front. He's chasing the ball. Themba Zwane is chasing the ball down. But you don't see it happen at the Kaizer Chiefs, where you see a Kamabilia tracking down to go assist, where you see a Nakovic going down to go and assist.
I saw him doing that in the last game, but it was tiring. He's a big boy. He's going to do it once, twice. But then if he wins the ball there, he's not going to be able to go in the box. And that's what you want him. Just sorry to catch you. It happens. But just to add up on what Phumudzo is saying there, you got to be, football now is not like you're just a goal scorer. You got to be a complete football. You got to be good on the ball and off the ball. You got to be good like offensively and defensively. I think that's where most of our players in South Africa never make it in Europe. Because in Europe, when you get there, like when you used to stay there and about 12 pass the ball, and then just all you have to do is cross the balls, and how if it's always a ball or you expect everybody else to do the job for you. Those European players, they will end up going to the coach and be like, we don't want to play with this guy. Because he only wants to play when he's got the ball, but it doesn't help us when we don't have it. So the mindset has to change. You know what I mean? And I think this is where Sundowns has kind of like, winning a lot of games that people don't think they're going to win them. They can change it 11-man squad today and still do well. And next week they play with a different squad and still do well. But you can see the philosophy of the players. It's all like an all-rounded into the players.
We're talking about the moments in the game, in position, out of position and also in transition. And I think that most of the teams in the PSL, they are struggling with the transition. Mabaqeda ukulithatha nje. Asazi ukuthi kumele senzeni. Mabaqeda ukulithatha, teams tend to run back.
Yeah.
Now, modern football, mabaqeda ukulithatha, the closest man to the ball needs to try and win the ball as quick as possible. That's counter pressing.
So 7 seconds, right?
7 seconds.
7 seconds, yeah.
That 7 seconds, that's the counter press. In that 7 seconds, you need to try and get the ball back as quick as possible. And that's what most teams have not managed. And especially if you are a ball-playing team, you need to counter press whenever you lose the ball. So the closest man, for an example, if Shandu is on the overlap, if Blom is on the overlap, if you lose the ball trying to cross, you don't run back all the way to defend. You go where the ball is. Try win the ball as quick as possible back. And that's what they are not doing well. The transition is a problem, and that's why they're getting punished because of how they react after losing.
But it's the distances as well. If we can go in technical, so you can only do that if the distances among the players is like close. When you look at France, that's an example. France played against South Africa. They made us look like Bafana Bafana. When you look at it, they hunt in packs. Not just one player goes, they're chasing for the ball. If one player goes, the rest of the 6 are coming with him. The first 2 players might not win the ball, but the ones behind are gonna win it. Now, after they win it, 2-3 passes, they're into your box. So that's the difference, like the transition from defense to attack. And like most of the boys are not willing to say, Phumutzo's got the ball. Like he just won the ball. As a player that sees that he's got the ball, the space there. There's got to be 3 players to see those places to try and get. To try and get into those places. You see players like, Motors got the ball, they're like, they're just jogging. Because they don't realize that they've got an advantage, So that's where the transition we're lacking. And this is the things that we can only teach them from I think ground level, And obviously when they get to the senior level, then it's easier for them to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about transition.
And you mentioned teams that are able to do that very well, teams that are on top of things right now and doesn't look like anybody's going to catch them. And I'm going to ask you, Josta, there is an upcoming match with obviously Kaizer Chiefs playing Mamelodi Sundowns towards the end of the season. As a Chiefs, do you use that game to sort of like gauge and prepare for next season? Or do you use that game as a, we need to consolidate our position on the log, let's go for a win kind of thing, considering that fans are going to be available for that game?
Okay, first of all, let's say Sundowns don't do well in the last 6 games. I know you're going to laugh at me. They don't do well. And then Chiefs, they've got games in hand and they do well, right? That means by the time they meet Sundowns, they can still have a chance to what? To bring the points back to like 6 points gap or 3 points gap. You know what I mean? But if now they lose this advantage that they have, they might as well just go out there and just play, start like preparing for next season. But me preparing for next season is what? Chiefs need a complete 2 maybe center backs. They need a center midfielder, and they need somebody that can help Billiard if he gets injured. And Dolly, obviously, he's a great player, but he's not going to play the whole season. And they need a marksman up front. You know what I mean? So now, by doing so, for me, they need to buy the right players for the right positions. You know what I mean? So it's up to them if, obviously, they're using the advantages that they have.
What is the right player?
Right players are, let me see.
You guys just described one.
What did I do?
No, not the name. Like, a right player is a player who is able to mentally know that, okay, cool, if I'm attacking, I must attack with the mentality that I might have to defend as well. If I'm going to cross the ball and lose it, I need to 7-second press and try to get the ball back. So those are the attributes of a right player.
So let's say the right player for a centre back. A centre back, you look at most centre backs, you got to be able to see the situations before, like as in when the guy that's your opponent's got the ball is trying to pass the striker, you need to like really read the situations. Don't react on them. See the situation, see what this guy is looking for. So most South African players or most defenders in South Africa, they react to the situation, unlike seeing the situation first. Now I'm looking at the centre back, right? So if you're saying who's the right player maybe for a winger for me is a player that, 10 out of, he's got 10 chances to attack the left back. 5 times he has to go past the left back, right? once in a while he has to come and help his right back. He's gonna, after halftime, he's gonna check how many crosses he's whipped in the box. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of players don't understand their role in the game. I think that's where we lack. And now that's where Sundowns is actually like killing us, because I think the boys, they understand their role in the field. If you have all 11 players understanding what they can do in the field, you can imagine what as a coach, it's easier, because all you do, you give them your blueprint, and then they're gonna go out there and win the game with their individual brilliance.
What Jay is saying is it speaks to group tactics and individual brilliance in certain positions. Because we're speaking about this, he mentioned earlier on to say, Utola muta press ali one, and you don't press when you are alone. A pressing tactic is a group tactic. Once there's one player that will trigger the pressing, and the rest of the people needs to follow. It also speaks about in which areas do you press. You will never press when it's central. You wait for the team to be on the sides, then you press the sides. You always need to press when you've got numerical advantage. And when you're bringing in players, you need to bring in players into a system. Because you are going into a system that is working already. That's why it's simpler for the players to be able to adjust. Now, we know for an example that Stuart Baxter, with all respect to the other coaches, he's one of those coaches that came to South Africa with this transitional football. When they won the league in 2014, they were very solid at the back, and their transition game was very good, and they could realize moments when to play deep and when to go quick. When do they delay to go for the attack? That's the strength that they had, Kaizer Chiefs. When he came back now, you expected the same sort of strategies. But now, does he have the right type of players? At that time, when he won the league, Morgan Gold,
Tawa was there as well.
Masha. Those were key players.
You were there?
I was there as well, yes.
Jay was there, the defensive midfielder, Katande.
He played with like 8 defenders.
So you knew, as a Josta Dladla that, okay, I might cheat here and there, but when I get the ball, I can't lose the ball, because there's 6 players that has worked so hard to retrieve the ball. So you need players that will look after the ball well after you have the ball. And those are the sort of players that if you are going to sign players, you need to go and bring those players that will suit the system of the coach and the group tactics that the coach wants to use.
But who's buying it? See, there's a difference. So the coach has to pick the players that he knows they're going to suit his system.
Yes, because the system is obviously put together by the coach.
The coach.
And
so he knows.
Yeah.
And he's been looking at these boys for the last, 2 years, right? So give him the back and be go look for the players that you want. I think it's about time teams.
But you know
what I mean? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying, we know that obviously there are the bosses, there are the management that want to do that, but I think it's about time. The management, obviously, they're going to make the decision if they can afford the player or not. But I'm the coach. Rather let me, if I fail, then you say, these are your players. You can't say the players are not doing well because you chose them.
Give me the tools.
Give me the tools. Yeah, so give me the money, let me go get the tools. I can't be the mechanic, but on haraf.
Yeah.
The mechanic, but like mechanic garapa on haraf or sped for rock.
Yeah.
So rather on kind train, I give Vaiko buy the tools, it's a sharp, it's this banner, it's a sharp. You lose our man, I gave you the money to buy all these tools so you can fix this engine proper. You understand? I think this is where the South African mentality needs to change when it comes to buying players. And also don't just go buy players, though. Make sure that they fit, what Manenzhe was talking about.
Looking at buying players competing at the highest level, obviously both Chiefs and Pirates are pushing for that Champions League sport. They're pushing for that Confederation Cup sport. Pirates is in the quarterfinals now. Chiefs were in the finals of the Champions League last season, and it's now become this glamour competition. Our Champions League is starting to look nice to watch. I'm gonna start with Pirates. Yeah,
because we are there. Because we haven't been there in a long time. It's only been Sundowns.
Pirates obviously going to be taking on Simba in the first leg of the quarterfinals. They're going to be playing in front of 40 or some thousand people, which is a full house. They haven't played in front of a big crowd in a long time. Do you think that's advantage or disadvantage?
You have to look at a Simba team that played Kaizer Chiefs. I think it was in the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. Kaizer Chiefs beat them to go through. This is a Simba team that has got not to be taken lightly.
It was actually in the quarterfinals.
It was in the quarterfinals.
Yes.
I just remember that Chiefs made them en route to the final.
Yes.
Now, they are not to be taken lightly. They've got players like Bennett Morrison. He would like to prove a point, especially to South African football, because he came to Orlando Pirates and he didn't do that well. He tried to stay in the PSL. He did not want to leave South Africa when Pirates said no thank you. So he has a point to prove to South African football, to say, hey, I'm still a good player. A player like Peter Banda from Malawi, he was at AFCON with the Kabadino Mango that we're speaking about. Peter Banda was the jersey number 10 for Malawi at the previous AFCON. A key player. I'm just mentioning those two players to just show you that they are not going to be an easy pushover. 40,000 supporters that will be pushing them. They are currently second in their league in Tanzania. And one thing why I say they are not to be taken lightly, they're the second best scorers in Tanzania. They have the second best defense in Tanzania. So it's for Orlando Pirates to then go look for the keys to be able to open up that defense that is the second best. Does Orlando Pirates have the material to do that? The answer would be yes, if you ask me. You're looking at a Shandu that has done so well in the Confederations Cup that he has gotten the attention of the national team coach. A Goodman Musele that has done well in this competition. A Dlamini that has done well. But was Shandu playing in front of 40,000 supporters at the club that is coming from, Maritzburg United? No. A Pepra, that is going to be most probably one of those that are fighting for a starting berth up front. Is he used to playing in front of a 40,000 capacity crowd? A Goodman Musele that comes from Morocco, 40,000, will he be able to handle it? But the answer would be, these people are now playing at a national team level, Bafana level. Goodman Musele is coming from the Olympics. So it's not going to be easy for Orlando Pirates, but I still think that they've got the tools. I will not be completing my story if I don't mention a Happy Jele, a Nyawuza. 2015, they were at the final of the very same competition, Confederations Cup. Both players, Nyawuza, captain and vice-captain.
It's good seeing them back. They've even been playing for what?
The two of them, they were there in 2015, final. 2013, CAF Champions League final, Happy Jele was there. So his experience is very key in terms of sharing his knowledge, sharing his experience for the players that will be playing for the first time.
Just to add up on that, I think in South Africa, we kind of don't respect players that have been in the game for such a long time. And they can play a big role when it comes to assisting the young ones that are coming up. And if you keep a player like Uchele, it shows the younger ones that if we do well, we can be looked after like him as well. So it's really great to see him coming back, and we need to see more players like that in the teams.
The interesting thing about that, you'd probably also say the same thing about Bernard Parker at Chiefs, long-time servant of the club. He was there with them at the Champions League final just last season. As Chiefs, as Bernard Parker and the Ngobos, the Dollies, you're looking at Pirates and you're looking at Sundowns and where they are in this competition. How much of a motivation do you think it gives them to want to go back there? Because at an ask they did go, and a lot of people had written them off. And unfortunately they lost in the final against a very, very good Al Ahly side.
But the more teams we have in continental championships, the better it is for South African football. Because then more players get exposed, international wise, and obviously the national team also can have more options of choosing players. We haven't been doing so well because we hardly have players playing overseas. We hardly have teams going all the way. Only Sundowns has been doing that, but Sundowns has got what? More foreign players. Right? They're doing well. It's only 5 or 2, 3 players that are based in South Africa. So the more we play in the continental,
and others are over age.
Others are over age.
What is all this? Over age.
I did not say that. It was no. So, there's a national team coach who spoke about players that are over age.
No.
I was just alluding to that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, depending on what he's trying to build.
Yes.
You know, we don't know what he's trying to achieve. Maybe they gave me a 10-year mandate. So he's thinking that if I'm gonna get a 35-year-old guy in the next 10 years, it's not gonna be there.
Yeah.
So you can see he's going for the young ones, and they've been doing well. Up until they played against France, which exposed them that they still have a long way to go. But that's what he wanted. But Kaizer Chiefs being obviously being one of the team, obviously aiding on Sundowns and Pirates, being there, it also will kind of push a lot of teams to kind of do well, wanting to be out there. You know what I mean? And we need to see South African teams and wanting to be the best in Africa, like what Sundowns did. 10 years ago, when Motsepe took over Sundowns, he said he wanted to be the best in Africa. Yeah. He said he wanted to be the Barcelona of Africa. After that, he wants the world to know about him. What's going on now? He got a star. You know. Chiefs, they've done it, they've been there a few times, but I think they kind of cracked the bid once they got there, you know. But it's not impossible. It is possible only if they get the right equipment, the right guys for the team to go out and deliver for them.
Realistically, Phumudzo, where do you see Pirates finishing? You have an idea of the games they have remaining. You have an idea of what stands in front of them, both continentally, both locally. Where do you see them finishing come end of the season?
I think when we get to this time of the season, 3 points is gold, and you're not going to get it easily. Other teams, there's different reasons why people are looking for points. They're looking for points to keep their status. They're looking for points to be in the top 8. They're looking for points to be in the CAF spots, and that is not going to be easy in the remaining games because they still have Cheaper, they still have Super Sport to play, just to name a few. They also have the Continental journey that they still need competing in. The traveling is going to take a lot out of them, especially in the last couple of games. I'm looking at the technical team managing the squad. That will be key for an Orlando Pirates team that still has to travel a lot, especially in the continent. And they're at a stage where they can't make mistakes anymore. Quarterfinal is knockout games. You sleep, you lose. And when I look at the depth of the squad that they have, welcoming some key players back into the squad, I think is going to be critical. The unity would be key. The bromance between the two coaches will also be key in terms of they need to be aligned in terms of the vision both locally and continentally.
Just to add on that, Anton, so if your key players come back, you've qualified for the quarterfinals without your key players, and now you're going to a quarterfinal game. As a coach, are you bringing back those boys to start, or are you going to put them on the bench? See, that's what it is.
Akirvari experience because spaza shop. Experience shop experience. Experience is key because we are looking at some of those key players, right? Name one, Tembing Kosiloj. The previous AFCON that we qualified for, he was critical in terms of his performances, even though he was not a regular in that Bafana team. Whenever he was given an opportunity, he did well. So his experience will be key, maybe because of fitness reasons. You might need him for 30 minutes. You might need him for 60 minutes. But you've got a Dlamini that has been doing so well.
Are you putting him out, boy?
You don't need to put him out. I think
let him start.
4 or 5 goals in all competitions. Dlamini, educated left foot. Yeah. I think he has been amazing. John Otto on the left-hand side. He has been the heartbeat of
That's why I prefer him, by the way. That's why I think he's most effective when he's playing as a winger, unlike as a 9, as a 10.
Reasons for that is that sometimes he gets lost when there's too many people around him. His strength is hugging the line, 1v1. He has got the ability to go past players, bring in a cross. He has got a goal in him with set plays. He becomes an important member. A Mavasa that is also coming back to full fitness. So those are some of the key players. A Shandu that has got 4 goals in CAF competitions, 7 in all competition. And he's a fullback. He has been dynamic for Orlando Pirates. Now the big question is, what do you do as the coach when Nda is coming back to full fitness now? Do you go 3 at the back, 3-4-3? Do you drop one of those experienced defenders to the bench? You play 4 at the back, you still continue with the 4-3-3. That information will be the one that will be able to tell us when we see the lineup and the approach as to where they'll finish.
The three at the back, we spoke about it. The 3-5-2. You know, it can be an effective, like, you know, formation when you're winning. But if they catch you, you know, you can lose 10-0 on that game. So because whatever there's a lot of holes on the side, which is the right back and the left back. And if you don't have your three center backs that are not communicating very well, they can get destroyed. So you want to play the quarterfinals away with the three at the back.
So, but with three at the back, this is where Sokshang is long. But with three at the back, that's where the word tactical flexibility comes in. Now you can play a Happy Jele, Nga Nyauza, still have Shandu, still have Mako.
So you have a three at the back that can turn to a 5
into a 5. Yes. You're playing away from home. So you're playing away from home. 3-4-3 might work because when you defend, it becomes a 5.
Yes. If you're quick enough, but if you're not quick enough, they're gonna use those spaces.
So it's that's why I'm saying it's a tactical gamble that the coaches have to take. When you defend, you'll have 5. But when you attack, you leave the 3, then the 2 wing backs. Because if you're playing with 3 at the back, they are no more full backs. They become wing backs.
Yeah.
And they go and add numerical advantage. Then you are not expecting a lot from a Dlamini, from a Hoto in terms of dropping all the way back because you've got those 2 players. So
they come in as
they
10.
come narrow. Yeah, they come in and become a double 10
Yeah.
when Pirates defend. So those are some of the tactical approaches that the coach can use. But to be honest, I'm a fan of 4 at the back. You are balanced, you're not leaving any spaces at the back. But that's the big decision that the coaches have to make.
So basically, the number that you're giving me is you'll only have a clearer idea once you see the kind of approach the coaches are going to take. But do you think that number is within the 4 that qualifies to go back to the continental competition? I think that's where my question lies.
You're talking about an Orlando Pirates team. It's not a question at Orlando Pirates. You have to be playing in the continent. Season in, season out, you have to be playing in the continent. Speedy recovery to Paseka Mako. Injured yesterday.
What a player. One of my favorites, I gotta admit.
Very consistent at left back. So already you're going into the quarterfinal minus one of your best players this season. The options that you have, you bring in the experienced Mayela back.
I like to see that, boy.
You bring in the experienced Mayela back, has not played much.
He loves Mayela.
Do you bring in a Bongani Sam?
Yeah.
Very educated left foot, offensive wing back. Do you bring him in? Because now this is where squad depth. We spoke about squad depth earlier on. Mako won't be available. Yeah. What do you do on the left? That's the big question. That information on the player they're going to bring in will give us the information as to how far, what approach are they going to use. And that's why I'm saying, worst case scenario, I see Orlando Pirates third.
Let's look at Chiefs, Josta. They've got a couple of tricky encounters. I mentioned earlier on Sundowns being one of them. Do you see them in the top 4?
Oh, I mean, with their inconsistency of performances that I've seen, I doubt. But if they do well, there is an advantage there. They've got 3 games in hand, but doesn't mean they've got points. Yeah. They still need to go out there and fight for those games. They're gonna have to play Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch, it's one of the tough teams. They hardly concede goals. They draw a lot of games, and they're fighting for a top 8 as well. They have to play Swallows. Swallows is fighting for relegation. These are tricky games because what happens is, I realized Kaizer Chiefs, when they play against these so-called small teams, they go into the game. Normally, as a player, you go in like it's going to be an easy game, But those small teams or those small players want to be wearing the Kaizer Chiefs jersey maybe in a year or 2. Yeah. So kind of so it's a difficult job for a coach to encourage the players to go out there and switch on. But it's easier for the opponent to switch on because they're excited they're playing against Pirates or Kaizer Chiefs. So it's the most difficult job to have when you're playing against the young one, the so-called small teams. So for me, if they can be consistent, if they can take the chances that they create, it is possible they can end up being second. But I mean, they competing with a team that is week in, week out, Royal AM, has surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, they're on point all the time, you know. So if Royal AM don't, so it's all about Royal AM. If Royal AM don't do well and Chiefs does well, they can end up being second. But if not, they're gonna end up being third place. But it's not guaranteed as well because there's two other teams underneath them, which is Pirates and Cape Town City, that are actually like, you know, wanna get that top 3 spot.
So, Phumudzo said Pirates 3. Worst case scenario, you saying
I'd say
3 as well.
I'd say 3, yeah. But if they do well, they can end up on, like, you know.
The reason I was saying Pirates, they still have to play Royal AM. They still need to play a SuperSport United team. Chiefs still have SuperSport to worry about. They still have Sundowns to worry about. Chiefs still have Swallows that is desperate for points.
Gallants as well. Gallants.
Marumo Gallant, 10 one donate 2 points.
Shushan
He
and
will
Piano.
possess you. He will
and
possess you.
Marumo
And
Gallants,
so, with us looking at where the teams might finish on the log, we also looking at the opponents that both teams still have to face, and Orlando Pirates still having to travel and all of that. So it's not going to be easy, but this is where we'll see squad depth. This is where we'll see the depth, especially on the technical benches, as to who do you bring in at what point. We're speaking about injuries come into play, suspensions come into play. Marco injured now, speedy recovery to him. Players that are getting suspended, players that are coming back from injuries is going to be very crucial for the two teams in terms of where they're going to finish.
The beauty about this show is we usually look back. I remember we went to look back last season at this is what you said, this is what you say. So I'm going to hold you guys accountable. You said 3, you said 3. So come end of the season, we will get together again, and then I'll be like, okay, Josta, this is what you said. Phumudzo, this is what you said. And you even mentioned Pirates will go all the way to the final of the Confederation Cup. So I'm noting that as well.
And also, nothing new, Meauti. 2015 it was done. 2013 it was done. Look carefully at the badge. It has something like a star here on top. It's experience. It has been done before. It's not a dream.
Okay, cool. No, I'm gonna hold you accountable. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on the Sisonke Diski Chat at Josta Dladla and Phumudzo Manenzhe. And like I said, I'm gonna hold them accountable to the predictions that they've made. And it has been another episode of the Sisonke Diski Chat. And remember, like we said, the Orlando Pirates funeral cover is here. And from as little as 60 Rand a month, you and your family can be covered. So head over to the Orlando Pirates official app, sign up, and family takes care of family. On that note, we out. We'll see you again on the next episode of the Sisonke Diski Chat.
I'll go show you where my Pirates funeral carve. Yeah.